Dacia here. Welcome to another mini pod. We started doing this thing where in between our regular episodes, you get a mini pod because there's so much tennis happening all the time. And sometimes it's too much to catch up on every 2 weeks. So you get a mini pod every week, every other week you get a mini pod, and Nick and I alternate who does them. So I'm doing the mini pod covering the first week of the Madrid Open. The Madrid Open is a joint 1,000 level event in Madrid, Spain. The Madrid Open is a 2-week 1,000 level event. It's a joint event between the ATP and the WTA, which is always fun to follow. And a lot has happened. I think the headliners of this first week of the Madrid Open are definitely Rafa Nadal and Danielle Collins. At least they have been for me. So let's break it down. How has the first week been of the Madrid Open? It's been slow, I would say, but not for me anyway, in a bad way. As someone who has a full-time job that they do, it's been nice to follow a tennis tournament slowly, because sometimes with Monte Carlo, I missed so many matches because I was working and just basically caught up on the weekend matches, which were basically the semifinals and then finals. So it was a lot to miss, where with the Madrid Open, which is a 2-week 1,000 level event, we're only now for the WTA, because they don't match the levels. Like, they started the WTA tournaments before the ATP tournaments. So the women are now going to be entering their round of 16, while the men are still finishing the third round matches. So it's a little bit staggered, which sometimes I don't like, because you're trying to figure out, wait, what round are we on? And it can get a little confusing, but that's how the Madrid Open does it, and some of the tournaments as well. I think Indian Wells for me so far has had the best 2-week schedule, and I wish everyone would just do what Indian Wells does. But that's another topic for another day. Anyway, what has the tournament been like? It's been great. Madrid Open was my favorite tournament last year, and right now it's in the running to be my favorite this year. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. Charleston was really great this year. But the Madrid Open, as a fan who is watching from outside of Madrid, is so great in terms of content for the fans to watch. The Madrid Open has a YouTube channel. The Madrid Open has a Twitch channel. The Madrid Open has an Instagram, X. They're just everywhere, and they put out so much content. They also have a podcast called Iguales, where they interview players throughout the tournament. It actually seems like they interview them before the tournament starts, and they kind of then release them throughout the tournament. But it's really great as a fan who is not there to sort of get an idea of what's going on in the grounds and kind of feel like you're part of it too, instead of just watching the tennis matches, and you don't get any of sort of the extra stuff that you would get by being a fan who actually attends a tournament. Because when you attend a tournament, there are little things, they're like player meet and greets, and they have like little interviews that they do with the players like throughout the tournament that is available for people attending the tournament to participate in. And this is Madrid's way, I think, of including everyone in that process. So I really like the Madrid Open in terms of that. And I think so far there has been no tournament that at least I have watched that has done as much content as the Madrid Open. It really does give you that sense of a mini Grand Slam, because it is a 1,000 level event. So there are tons of ways to follow the Madrid Open. I posted that on our social, so you can check those out and see which ways that you would like to follow them for the final week of the tournament. But yeah, what has been going on? Again, I think the headliners have definitely been Nadal and Danielle Collins. Rafa Nadal came into this tournament with a little bit of lowered expectations. You know, he had performed well for his current condition in Barcelona. He lost his second round match to Alex de Minaur. And I think coming into Madrid, I kind of felt the same way, where I was not expecting much. If he played tennis at all, I was grateful to just see him on a tennis court. And when the draw came out, we saw he had drawn in his first round wild card Darwin Blanche. Now, Darwin Blanche is someone whose name has been popping around. I watched him play the US Open Junior tournament last year. He is famous for going to Juan Carlos Ferrero's academy, and he practices a lot with Carlos Alcaraz. So I think that's why his name is out there a lot. And he got a wild card to Miami. So he played the Miami Open. He lost in his first match to Thomas Mahak, but it was a very competitive match. I think he definitely showed some of his skill, even though, you know, he's 16. I think he's 16 or 17 years old, so still pretty young. And coming into this, I mean, to draw Rafa Nadal, you know, was such a big thing for him. I think he posted to his Snapchat, you know, WTF, I just drew Nadal. I can expect that this was a very big stage for him in the first place, playing a Masters 1000 level event, but then to draw Nadal at the same time and in Madrid, I don't think the stakes could have been any higher for a 16, 17-year-old. And he lost the match. He lost 1-0. And Nadal played well. It was really nice to see Nadal play well. But I think the story kind of became Darwin Blanche and wild cards. And it kind of, you know, I think it took a turn where people discussed, you know, didn't feel like Darwin deserved a wild card. And, you know, wild cards are what they are. You know, this, I think it's, people need to realize that other than just being a sport, just like most things, tennis is also a business. It's the same with any other sport. And wild cards are given for different reasons. You know, a lot of times, for example, for the French Open or the US Open, they want to give it to local tennis players who have been doing well and deserve a wild card into the big tournaments that their rankings wouldn't have given them the opportunity otherwise. But then there are other reasons. Basically, I guess they're an agency, IMG, who reps a whole bunch of players, also owns the Madrid Open, and they like to give wild cards to their clients, per se. Hey, it's perks of being represented by IMG. I personally don't see any issue with it. Would I love that they gave it to players who have been grinding out, you know, playing well, showing good form throughout the season while they play like challengers or WTA 125s? Of course, I would. But I also understand the sort of business side of why wild cards are handled the way they are. So that's beside the point. I just didn't feel like the conversation around the wild cards was very fair to Darwin Blanche, who put up a really great showing at the Miami Open. And I'm actually not really surprised by his result here based on just the occasion of it, you know. But yeah, hope he does well in the future. He's shown he's shown a lot of promise in the junior circuit, and I hope he does get more wild cards and he's able to show his best tennis. But what that did was it created a rematch between Nadal and Alex de Minaur, who played at Barcelona. De Minaur won, and here was the rematch, and it was just such a glorious sight to see Nadal in full flight and just pushing hard. I think this is the most I've seen him push this whole comeback from injury. And he got the win against Alex de Minaur. It's so worth checking out the highlights and just seeing Nadal in like full flight and, you know, doing all his signature celebrations and getting such a good win. There was a camera that caught him going into the tunnel, like after the match, to go back, I guess, into the locker rooms, and just caught him doing like a little fist pump to himself. And, it's so nice to see him happy, playing good tennis, and retiring or not the way that he wants to. So he's playing Pedro Cachin next in his third round. That happens tomorrow, actually, from when I'm recording this. Should be interesting. I mean, I'm not gonna dream. I want to keep all my expectations grounded and level, but I'm here. I'm here for whatever Nadal is willing and able to bring us as fans. And yeah, Danielle Collins. Well, Danielle Collins is not losing another tennis match. You heard it here first. She decided to retire this year. It's funny that the two highlights of this tournament of this week so far are two players who are retiring from the game. But yeah, Danielle Collins just decided that she just wasn't going to lose anymore, and has been fighting her way ever since. After winning Charleston, she's coming into her first tournament since then, and has played two matches, and just both three sets, both fight backs. She loses the first set and she's fighting back. And it's just so awesome to see just her grit and determination and feistiness and taking no prisoners. Like, there's no, Mr. Nice Guy on court. It's just she's there to win a tennis match, and that is what she's going to do. And this means she has now booked herself a round of 16 match against Arina Sabalenka. And, you know, let's just say a prayer for the balls in this match, because when you get a Danielle Collins who is not going to lose another tennis match, and an Arina Sabalenka, just, I can't even imagine the explosions that are going to happen on court. I just know that I'm going to be there to watch it, and I hope I can talk to you guys about it next week. It should be a very exciting one, hopefully. What else has been happening in Madrid? Well, briefly touch on Alcaraz, because it was very touch and go if he was even going to play this tournament. He had to pull out of Monte Carlo. He had to pull out of Barcelona because he had an arm injury. And it was down to the wire as to whether he would play this tournament. And he has played. He did make it through, and then has had two pretty routine tennis, matches, which is, for Carlos Alcaraz, somewhat strange. He always seems to me have a very shaky first round, and then he kind of warms up into the tournament, and he's just kind of had two very routine matches. So let's see what comes of that. He actually is playing Danielle Struff, who he met in the finals last year of this tournament. So it's going to be interesting. Jan Leonard Struff, as you know from listening to the podcast last week, just won a tournament in Munich. So he's coming off of a really good win. Let's see how their match goes. Mira Andreeva. Mira Andreeva is back and happening in Madrid. This time last year, we discovered Mira Andreeva and her just like electric personality. So it's so nice to see her back. She's back into the round of 16 and playing really phenomenal tennis. Really excited to see how much further she can go in this tournament. I think the match of this week, we have to talk about the Jerry Shang and Corentin Moutet match that happened. I believe it was a first round match, and it was just 3 hours of chaos. Corentin Moutet is already a very sort of, I say he's a little bit of a Bublik type player. There's always shenanigans going on in his matches, but this had everything. He at some point was sprayed by water from another court because they were watering another court, and it somehow like got onto his side and he was sprayed down with water. He also then demanded a coffee because the match was going late. I think it went way past midnight local time. and he asked for a coffee, but you can't ask for a coffee. But he did get the coffee because a fan bought him coffee. Also, like in the third set went to a tie break, and he like on it was 5-all in the tie break, and it's his serve, and he serves and then loses his racket. It's like the racket slips out of his hand, which created then a match point for Shang, and it was some match. It's one of those things where the highlights will not do it justice, unfortunately. If you can find a replay and watch all, I actually think it was 4 hours long, this match. Can't remember, but if you can find a replay and you just have some downtime and you're just working and you want to put it on the background, it is well worth your time just to catch the craziness of of this match. And this is what I love sometimes about first round tennis. It wasn't, so we've been doing these watch lists. I run our social media channels. So I create a watch list pretty much every day of matches that to look out for, that I will be watching and will update on. And you always pick the ones that you think, oh, that's going to be a fun one, or, it seems like a fun matchup, or maybe, a match that you feel like might be an upset, those you go for. But this match was definitely not one of the matches I picked, but that's the beauty of tennis is just sometimes a match that just seems like a pretty routine, who knows what's going to happen kind of match just turns into an absolute epic that everyone's talking about for the next day. So that was definitely the match of the week for me because you can't make it up. You really couldn't make it up. Um, and that's the best part of it. What are we looking forward to? A lot of matches to look forward to in the second week. Really want to see what happens with Alcaraz and Struff. Nadal is playing again. Can he get over the line? Danielle Collins, Arena Sabalenka. That's just going to be, I hope the stadium doesn't explode with how hard they're going to be hitting the ball. But yeah, so a lot to look forward to in the second week. But for me, one of the most, there's a lot of exciting things to look out for, but one of the most exciting things to look out for is going to be the doubles. Now, the WTA has already started doubles. I've watched some matches. Really has been fun watching Taylor Townsend and Coco Gauff play together for the first time at this tournament. So that's been great. I've enjoyed that. But the men's doubles draw starts on Tuesday. And today, the draw came out for who's going to be playing in the doubles tournament. And I am so excited. Now, if you listen to our last episode, you know that doubles on the men's side is going through a little bit of a change. There's a little bit of an experiment going on with the ATP. They are now going to be allowing a lot more singles players to play in the doubles draw by using their singles rankings. There are going to be a lot of other experiments to help shorten the game and to better the experience for fans. So there'll be like free fan movement in the crowds, etc. But I've been waiting to see who these single pairings will be. Like, who could possibly, we've seen them before. We've seen Rublev play with Kachanov. So we've seen singles players play from time to time, but I was just excited about what we would see because now a lot more of them can participate. And it did not disappoint. It really did not disappoint because we are going to get Daniil Medvedev playing Tommy Paul together in doubles. I mean, what is our team name? We got to find a team name because I think this is the best team that could have been put together. The best unexpected team to be put together. Because if you know, but Indian Wells semifinals, they had, for me, the match of the tournament. that it was just such an epic battle that was unfortunately ended by a little bit of a roll of an ankle. I mean, for some people, a little bit, for me, a lot. Tommy Paul rolled his ankle during that match, which I feel changed the trajectory of where that match was going. And I've always just, I mean, I'm just waiting for when they will play each other again in singles, because that sort of game plan that Tommy Paul brought to that matchup was insane, and it was working, and I loved to see it. And now they're playing doubles together. This is incredible. I'm way too excited about this. I really want to make team shirts. You know, the Tommy Octopus. I don't know. We got to find a team name. I really hope they go far. I will be rooting for them in the doubles draw. But yeah, I will post to our social media the full draw so you can see all the other singles players. There are a lot more. Aslan Karatsev is back. He is playing with Triple Z, which is a change because Triple Z has been playing with Thomas Mahak. They played together in Barcelona, but now it's a different partnership. This should be interesting. Again, I'm really excited. There are also some double specialist changes. For example, the Brits are playing together. So Neil Skupski is playing with Joe Salisbury. They don't usually play together. I think this is sort of an Olympic pairing trial. So that should be fun, which is great because it's on clay and the Olympics is going to be on clay. So it's nice to see these teams start pairing up and kind of doing Olympic tests to see if they'll work together. Really excited for that. Ben Shelton is playing with Taylor Fritz. That should be another exciting pairing. Again, super duper excited for the doubles draw at the Madrid Open. And yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. We'll see you next week with a full episode with the results of Madrid, as we might be recording on finals day, so we might not have all of the results, but we will definitely come to you with the results that we have. Again, follow us on social media. We post a lot of updates there, so you know what we're up to. Also, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, please leave us a little note, give us a review. We love to read those. It really does help the podcast. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next week with Nick. Bye.